Okay, sorry. Okay, I started the recording because I think we were just kind of creating right now, practicing, but I can record. That's fine.
because the new links
Sure,
that
sure. Perfect. Okay, so here you can create a name of the new app. So remember what was the name in there. You can call it Star Pharma or anything that you want. So this is the name of the app. Remember, like a sales app, marketing app. So now you're creating your own app. Okay, very good. Developer name, just click. It will just probably copy. Very good. Description, you can say test. Is just, you can provide the description if somebody else is looking into that. In feature, if you have an image, you can upload. Right now, it's fine. We can just go to the next screen. Okay, here there are different options like how you set up your navigation. There are different styles in terms of, like, you can have a separate for phone and desktop. Right now we are choosing both of them. There's another thing called console. So right now we are just keeping all the default and just moving next. But in future we can always come back and change the settings if we need to. Go ahead and do next. Very good. Here, if you go down, you can add some utility bars at the very bottom. Again, right now is very early, but we can go ahead and do next. In future, we'll come back and make a little bit more sense what it is. Okay, here, now what we need to do is we need to add the objects that we have created. So search for the object that you created in the search bar. I think hospital was one of them. Here you go. So select that and click the right button, the first one. So it will move to your right hand side. Very good. Like one by one, just add all the remaining three objects. I think the one of them was visits or invoice. Very good. And move it there. Okay, everybody's getting that. All she's doing is basically she just created a new app. Uh, we already created 4 different objects. She's actually taking all 4 different objects and including them into the new app that we are just creating right now. So all the 4 of the apps, all the 4 of the objects, we are going and we are about to create into that new application.
So, Puram, is it possible to create app first and
Yeah,
all
of course. Yeah.
all all new objects, whatever we're gonna create by default, they goes straight to.
They won't go by default. You need to come back into the app and add it because there could be many apps. Where when you're creating a new object, there is an option where you can select what app does need to be created. Right now, when you were creating the objects, we are just clicking everything, meaning the object is available on all the apps. Okay, but in future, whenever we create a new objects, I can show you. So you can actually just select one app that you want to create. So I can show you as well. So both ways is possible. Either you can create app first and then add the object, or you can have app already created. Now you can use the object. I'll show you.
But we have to manually add objects like that. Either you create.
No, when you're creating the objects, at that point in time, you can select what app you want if the app is already
Okay.
created. In this
Okay.
case, we are doing other way around. We already have the we already have the object, and now we are creating the app. But for example,
Okay.
let's say now you already created the app, but now you need to add one more object. So then you don't need to come here. You can directly add it while you're adding the object. So I'll show you
Okay.
right now, just after that.
Okay.
That's a very
Got it.
good question. So we are good. We already selected all 4, so you're good. Just go ahead and do next. And right now here, what you can do is, can you just select the first one and do shift and control all of them. Select all of them. First select all of them. Click on, like, for example, marketing profile, and just keep clicking so that, like, you know how you can select all of them. Just click the first, yeah, go ahead and select all of them at the very, no, more.
Okay.
Yeah, just scroll the bar on your right and then select all of them. Yeah, and here what we are doing is, so we have different profiles. Again, we haven't learned, and now you can click the top button. Yeah, so give me 1 minute so I can explain what we did. So what we did right now, because there are many profiles here, you can only select 1, 2, or 3 profiles, whatever you are using. Okay, right now I'm just selecting everything because as a default we are just giving everything. But whenever we study about what profile means and we understand what profile, so we can only select 1, 2, 3, 4, as many profiles as we need, and then we move it here. Right now I'm just selecting everything to make sure if you're testing or if you're trying something on your own, you can able to see that everywhere. But when we have that topic, when we study the topic, then we can understand what profile means and what is the profile that you're using. And in future, if you're creating the same app, you can only select the one that you need. Right now, just imagine we are just selecting everything as a default. So go ahead and do save and finish. Very good. And then you can go to those rubric, the 9 dots, and see if that app is there.
Mm. Yeah.
Very good. Go ahead and click that. And what should we expect? We should expect 4 tabs, and you can see all 4 tabs are there. So now you just created your own app, you have your own objects, so everything is customized. Okay, just keep that in mind. What we did, we create a custom app called Star Pharma. We create 4 custom objects called hospital, invoice, sample, and visits. And within that, we have created multiple custom mix of custom and standard fields. So go ahead and add one record over here just to see how it looks like. So go ahead and same thing, I think you also did like hospital name. So normally that field is by default, so you don't need to create it separately, but that's fine.
Okay. That showing up
Yeah,
too.
so you understand why you see both 2 names, right?
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
created one.
Yep, that's
Okay.
fine. Yep.
Okay. So, next one.
Just give any sample data.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I can add it, right?
Okay, so this one, child specialist, did you define them?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Mm.
maybe very good. So what she did is she basically defined 2 types, and then she actually defined it over there. So maybe you can select one, and if you can go back and show everybody how did you select it, so in that way everybody
So
understand that.
that is pick list, right? This type.
Exactly, there's a pick list. So go ahead and save it, the record. Perfect. So you just created your first record
Yeah.
under hospital. So how would you see the list of records? So this is one specific record. If you just click the hospital again on the top, so if you want to see the list of all of the record, that's how you see it. But if you want to see the details, just click the memorial and you see the list of one record, right? So I'm just trying to keep saying the record and thing every time, so you can get a hang of it initially. So you can just cancel this, yeah, for now. Perfect. So okay, now can you go back to your object manager and maybe show everybody how did you select the pick list?
Was hospital.
Correct, hospital. And you can always search it on the top bar, but that's fine. Okay. So if you edit that, yep, and you will see the fields, and then probably no. So this is the actual object. What do you need to do? Cancel this. Cancel this one. Yeah. You actually need to go to fields and relationship. You
Okay.
don't need to go in the details because we are just looking at the one of the fields that we need to see how did you create that. Okay. If you go to field and relationships, here you will see the name of that field. If you go there and then edit that field. Type. Yeah. Go all the way down. Type.
Type. Okay.
Yeah. If you click that. Okay. Go down. Okay. So here, see, she actually created the value. So she provided the field. So can you go back to the fields and relationship and just try to add another new field which will have some level. So just create a new one, select pick list, and just show them, and we will just create anything as a sample. So we have a pick list, and then anybody knows what is the difference between pick list and pick list multi-select? Just a guess. So for example, if you want to select more than one options, okay? So let's say if the pick list value is something like you are ordering a food, and then you have you have different objects that you want to select, multiple objects from the list, then you can choose the pick list multi-select, meaning if you read the details, it says allow users to select multiple values from the list you define. So the first one will allow you to choose one, the other one will allow you to choose more than one. So that's the only difference. Yeah, go ahead and do next. So here
Can
it give
also
any, yeah,
control, sorry, Varun,
yeah.
can we control more than one, but under some limit, or just it lets you select as many as you want?
So multi-select can allow you to choose as many as you want.
Okay.
Yeah. So for example, if you want to choose 2, 3, 4, you can choose as many as you want.
Right.
What we
Just
do?
give any name, like maybe just test. Very good. And here select, the enter value. So now here just give a value that test 1, test 2, test 3. So whatever you write here, they will become like options that will come as a drop down. So for example, she can say test 1, do one more as test. No, just do enter. Yeah, enter. You can do that too, but yeah, it's just make it easy for test 2 and test 3. So 3 options. So let's go ahead and let's say create that and see how it looks. Yeah, next. Yeah, for now we're just selecting everything. Same thing. Yep. And then you can go back to that object on the other window. Just keep this window fine. Just leave this window. You can go to the memorial services one window before. Yeah, right there. And just click on hospital. And now what we need to do, we need to create a new record. So click new.
Oh.
Not the previous one. We can create a new record. You're still on Star Pharma. You're still on hospital. Click new one. And let's see if that field come up. So you don't need to fill everything. Just go straight to the field down. Type and then click the button. And
So should I refresh it or what?
no. So go back and did you maybe click the other one? Just refresh it. Yeah. Okay. Try new again. Go all the way down. Okay, try next. Yes, try the test. And here you go. Okay, so test 1, 2, 3. And right now she can choose one of them. If you want to have an option where you want to choose more than one, you can select multi-pick list. So here, any options that you want to provide as a preset, you can do that. Okay, everybody good? Any question? Okay. All right, let me see. So anybody has any doubts about how to create the app, how to create the objects, how to add different fields, how to show them in the apps? So basically we created a brand new custom app. We created a brand new fields. We created, you know, we created different records into your thing, and then you should be ready to go.
Yeah. Okay, hold on.
Yes.
So can we create a first app and then we add in
Yes, so I
an
can show you.
app
Yes, so let's go ahead and go.
objects and
Correct.
fields and
So let's say
everything.
now you already have created the object, correct? So let's add one object to existing app. So go back to your settings. So I can just show you. So
So
you
we
can
are
get
creating a new one.
go to setup and go to object manager, which should come up automatically. And here you go. And object manager, click new.
So are we going to create a new one?
Yeah, new object. Let's say if you're creating a new object and you want to add into existing app, correct?
No, actually she's asking a new one, I think, the earlier question. So I don't know.
So previously what we did, we created the object and just add it to any, like all of them, all of the different apps. Now we want to add it to a very specific, so just say create. So let's say you want to create the fifth object, the custom object, and we would just want to add to just one application, not everything, right? So let's see how we can create that. So let it load up. Okay, now hit give a name like a test object. Okay.
Do we have to add anything?
Um, 1 second. Actually, hold on. Go back to yeah, find the object and go back to the test object.
Should I go into?
Yeah, click that. And on the left hand side, go down and see if you can find the object. On the left hand side, like where you have fields and objects, page layouts, go down. And,
What we are finding?
okay. 1 second. Let me share my screen and I.
Yes, sir. So should I stop?
Yeah, just stop sharing. 1 second. Let me. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
No?
Okay, 1 second. Okay, how about now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's say, let me hide it. Okay, so let's say in this case, you already, let me go back here. Okay, so we are at the object manager. So let's say you created a brand new object and you want to add into a new app. So all you need to do is you go to settings, okay? And last time what we did is we create the app, and while creating the app, we add something. In this time, let's say we already have the app, we created a new object as we did, and now all we need to do is basically we need to go back to the app manager like we did last time. What we did last time is basically we go to Lightning app and actually create a new one, right? From here, we created a new app. This time, as you said, we already have the app already created. So for example, this is the test app that I want to create a new, I want to add the object that I just created into this app only. All I need to do is basically go and edit that, and it will open up a new app builder similar to what you remember you see it um, for the object thing. So you can have the first one, for example, now you created the app, you can go back and change the branding, you can change the, you can upload a new branding picture like a logo, you change thing, you can even change some of the information here. But we need to, for example, we need to add the new app. So we can select the new app from here. So this is again the list of app will come up over here, whatever object that you want to add. So for example, accounts, you want to add accounts, and you can just the way same way you save it, and in this time you can just edit and update the information. Okay, so same way, the only thing is instead of creating a new app and adding that, you can just go to the app that you want to add and you can just add the object that you just created. Make sense? Anybody? Hey, anybody? Does it make sense? Straightforward.
Yeah, Khurram, well, what if we have like too many, uh, like say too many accounts, and we select a wrong object into a wrong
You can go
account?
back and remove it. So you can easily go back and remove from the same location and add the right one. So same way like you can.
No, no, I'm saying like, will the all the records not get mixed up?
So I mean, right now, as soon as you add a wrong one, but if you go back and actually try to create a new record, you will see different fields. So why would somebody add a records? So those things you need to be careful, right? You cannot just add something there, which, because for example, if you created two accounts and one is wrong, one is right, and if you add the wrong one, obviously then, and you add multiple records, so either you can go back and change the name of the object, that's fine. But I mean, or if you want to change, add a new fields or do whatever you want to do with the existing one, but then you need to go back and fix it the way you want it. But whenever you're creating, make sure you have the right information and then you can create something. Okay. All right. Any other question?
So, Khurram, the first phase we create the objects first, and we add the object into existing app, right?
Mhm.
The second time you, I think, create the app and add object at the same time.
No, no. So all I'm saying is basically, let's say you already, so for the very first time, what we were doing is we were, and it doesn't matter the sequence, it doesn't even matter. So for example, let's say you need to do this, create a new app and you need to create multiple objects. All you need to do is it doesn't matter, you can create the object first or you can create the app first, doesn't matter. You can just go ahead, and if you already have the app, you can add it, and then you can add the new objects. Or if you already created the objects and then you are creating the app, then you can just create an app and then you can select the existing object. And then in future, let's say you want to have a couple of new objects, so just create new objects, edit the app and just add them like anything else. Simple. So basically all I'm saying is, remember, if I go back to, so let's talk about object manager. Okay. So what you do from object manager is you need to create a new object, right? All what you do, you can go ahead and create a custom object. And let's say this custom object, we can call it test 22. Okay, so you're creating a new new object S22. Just keep all the settings default and save it. Okay, now you create the object. Obviously you need to add this object somewhere, right? Either in the existing app or maybe in the future app, correct? So for example, if you want to add that into existing app, and we can see both options. So all again, what you need to do, go to setup, go to apps. So if you know the location, then it will be, it doesn't matter how, which one you want to create first. So you go to app manager. Okay, now let's say if you want to add that object into a new one, what will you do? You can just say create a new lightning app, add the app, and then when you go to the field, when you go to the field, um, here, so the, you know, the name will come up, test.
So basically, this is a list of existing apps,
This
right?
is the list of, or even if you are creating a new, you can even create a new object from here, custom object from a spreadsheet. But these are more futuristic options. But you can actually able to add anything from here, from the list that you have just created. Simple as that. So either way, it will work fine.
Okay, I'll try myself.
Yeah, so all of these things is just require practice. You saw that, like, once you create first time, you can be you know, looking for the objects where it is, looking for the different things. But once you created that once, then you know the location, then creating them again will be much easier. You know the location, you know the process. The first time you only go through the process, second time you can easily come back and you can maneuver and actually learn more things that you have. So a lot of these things, what we have different options right now, we are selecting the default so that you don't get confused about what you're doing. Because whenever, even if you're, when you're creating the app or when you're creating the objects, there are multiple things underlining that we can select. Right now we are keeping everything as a default, just so that you can able to easily understand the point that we are making. For example, if you're creating the object, we just concentrate on the object, select everything default, so that you can see how the object is created. Same thing is when we are creating the app. Right now we are not going through all the different options. We are just creating the name of the app, selecting the objects, and just create that, so that you know that, okay, how do you select the objects and create the app. That's it. And then in future, and then same thing, when you create an object, next thing you always need to remember, you need to create the tab. Right now, for example, I created the object, I did not created the app. That's why I don't see in my list. So I don't know if nobody has actually pointed it out, that first thing, when you create the object, you also need to create the tab, right? Remember, nobody remind me that you need to create the tab first. Make sense? And what does tab mean? Tab is, for example, if I go back to any object, and this actually which shows, so this is an object, but the way it is showing up, this thing is called tabbing. So if you create an object called Ali offers object, so that's the object that we created from the object manager. But if I do not create a tab, then I cannot add it into any object. Does it make sense? Everybody clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, for example, if I want to write it down just for everybody to be on the same page. So for example, first thing, normally what you can do is, and again, the sequence is not necessarily same thing. It's up to you. For example, first thing, you can just create the app name. Okay. Or you can call it create app. Okay. Or the way we are doing it, you can also do create object, for example. Okay. Second thing is you can create tab. Okay, now the tab is created. Third thing is you need to do, so for example, either you are doing create or edit an app. So for example, if you already have an app where you want to add this, you can do that, you can edit it. Or if you're creating a new app, then you can create. So whatever you want to do, you can either create or edit an app, and you can and add the new object. That's it. Once you do these three steps, you will have your tab created, you will have your object created, and that object in form of tab will be available in your app that you have selected. So these 3 steps, if you can follow, you can have your first record is ready to be created into that particular new app. Are we
What
good?
happens, Arun, if I don't create that, try to add
If
created
you don't
object
create
into
the tab, right?
right?
So if you don't create the tab, then that object will not appear in the list like what I was doing, like test 22. I did not create the tab, so I don't see that in the list. So I cannot add it into the app.
Khurram, after creating objects, we need to add fields, right? Before we create
Of course,
tab.
objects, we can create fields, of course. You can create fields, and then, and same thing again, if you want to, let's say you added 2 fields. In future, you can always come back and add more fields, right? So for example, even you can come back and change the object, maybe change the color or something. So all of these things that you can go back, you can change on a high level. Obviously, when you have records, so for example, if you created, let's say you have 3 fields initially and you have 100 records, after that you created some 2 new fields. The only problem with that is those 100 records which was created before, those 2 fields will be empty for them. So either there are different ways that you can input the data into those previous if they have, or they can be just empty. So that's the only thing that you need to consider in future. For example, right now, obviously we are creating from the scratch, no data is there, so you can make whatever changes you want. But let's say, for example, if this is a running system, you create an object, you create fields, you create apps, and then you have users who are started using, creating the data. You have 100,000, couple of thousand records in there, and then somebody comes back to you as a business owner and says, you know what, we need to add a one new field. So what will happen? You can add a new field, and then anything going forward, a new record when added, it will have that field. But what about the all the different records that you already have? So there is a way you can import the information. So you can put so either you can go back to each record manually and open each record, add the information in that new field, open. But for example, if you have 500,000 records, you cannot manually do that. Okay, so there is another ways to do that. And again, I'm just telling you, if you have any questions, but again, in future we will see all of those things, how to do that. Then there is a way that you can have all that information available in a CSV file, and you can import, and then against each of those 100 records, those field will be filled by importing it. So you can actually import the data into existing records also, and you can even create new records using the data import. So there are multiple ways of doing this. Again, I don't want to jump into future right now, but just to give you an idea, there's all these things are possible, because these are all realities. When you start something at the beginning, maybe the product, for example, it required 10 fields, but maybe 6 months down the road, now they have added few new capabilities or few new features, and now you need more fields to have that information available. So there are multiple ways you can do that, and that's why the learning always continue, because there the fields are adding, the things are adding. You can have different options, there are different ways how to add that. So even in future, you can have more ways available to actually do a lot of things that you might be looking for. Okay, any questions so far? So I
Yes,
think,
Khurram,
yes.
one quick question. I wonder, is there any way either system allow you to check something and let you create, rather than we go through all the manual process and create tabs? I would say if there is any easier way rather than those manual process steps, there's no other like easy way to just create tab by just by clicking.
um I mean, right now I don't think so there's an, I mean, this is already very pretty easy, right? I mean, you just
No,
click
no, it's
the
not
app,
about
that's it.
difficult. It's easy.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, if it's that important, why not? Normally, the efficient system lets you just, it's a just, it should be a click away. I mean, just creating a tab and that's it.
The reason for that is you don't really do that too often. I mean, in future, you will see that once you create your database structure, you don't really go back and create the objects all the time. So and again, there are particular reasons to do this like this, because you probably have seen multiple options, right? So even if you're creating tabs, when you're creating different objects, when you're creating different things, right now we are selecting the default. But if you go back and actually able to once we read about them, that how the profiles work, what is field level security, what are different apps that you can select by creating. So all of those, there is a reason why. If you don't see a shortcut, there is definitely a reason, because they already every time. So they have, Salesforce has 3 releases every year. Okay, so every release, and what happened is, I can just give you a little background while we are on the topic. Is Salesforce has something called, you can actually vote for a new feature. So for example, if you think about something, I mean, right now I know you don't have a lot of insight into this, how does this work and what is the reason, but let's say you are
Right.
into this for like couple of years and you know everything, and then you figure out, you know what, this process is very manual, or there is a way you can improve this process, right? You have a suggestion. So Salesforce community has a very good suggestion period called ideas. So you can float an ideas, and other developers and other people who are in that community, they can start voting for that. So if your idea has a certain number of votes, then Salesforce actually start looking into that, and if that is a good feature, they can have that feature available in the future. So anything that you think about, you can go back and actually check into their ideas portal and see if somebody might have given the ideas already, and maybe there are reason, because for example, if the idea, you throw an idea, and for example there is a reason, so the other community members already tell you that why this is a bad idea or why this is not possible, right? And if it
Exactly.
is something that everybody agrees or a lot of people agrees, they can start voting for your ideas and they can implement it. So trust me, anything that you are looking at is gone through hundreds and thousands and millions of people who are looking into all these features on a daily basis. And if there is any improvement whatsoever is possible, they already given that ideas and they look into that. So more than half of the features that Salesforce implement um, every release, and they have 3 releases per year. So you can imagine they have like every 4 months they have one release, right? So they have a spring release, summer release, and winter release. So every release they add a lot of new features, they improve things, and again they are trying to make sure things can get easier and easier and easier. So all of these things are already taken care of. So again, as I said, once you get a better understanding, better hang of the system, how does it work, and in future if you feel like, okay, I have a better solution for that, you can always welcome to provide the idea, and then if you have enough people who like the idea, your idea can become part of the release. Make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah. For now, it looks like an extra step, so
Yeah. So
probably
right now,
might get it.
I mean, you're just learning, so everything looks like
Mhm.
laborious. But once you start looking into more advanced feature, then all of these things will look like a piece of cake, basically. Because again, as we move forward,
Sure.
every new thing that we learn will become a little bit more complicated. So this is probably what we are looking at is the most easiest and most basic stuff that you're looking at. But every new item, when we learn, they become a little bit more complicated and then more complicated, and then you can get into more complicated items. But this is more just to how to create some items, how to do that. There's no there's no such complexity at the moment, but in future, the most of the other topics that we go through, they will have a lot of more complexity in there. All right, so let's jump into the next topic for today, which is relationship, right? So we did touch upon this relationship model before, and can somebody tell me what are the different type of relationship that we discussed in last class?
I think one was like lookup thing, if I
Uh-huh.
remember.
Very good.
And master detail.
And master detail. Very good. Can anybody tell me about what is master detail and what is lookup?
Master detail is tightly um, combined, and lookup is closely coupled.
Very good. So master detail is tightly coupled. This is also called parent-child relationship. Lookup
Yeah.
is loosely coupled. It is not basically the security settings and others. They does not go along with the lookup, but master detail is very tightly coupled. All the security setting and everything goes with that. So there are actually 2 main types of relationships. Okay, so we did talk about master detail and lookup, but both of these are called one to many relationship, right? and there is another major type of relationship called many to many. Okay, so what is one to many is, as we mentioned about master detail or parent child. So what happened is one parent can have multiple childs. For example, we discussed in our last class, for example, you can have one classroom, class grade 1, and then you can have 30 students. So you have one class which is master, and detail side is multiple, which is like 30 students. Okay, so you can, if for example each student, for example, if we actually try to plot that as a database, so you will have a object called class. Okay, so I just want to kind of quickly remind. So object 1, for example, is class, and you can say class A, for example, or class 1. And then another object, which is object 2, is students, right? Okay, so for example, what could be normal scenario is class 1 equal to, for example, 30 students, right? So what will happen, you have just one record from the object called object 1, sorry, we can call that object 1 is classrooms. Okay, and then the other one is called objects. In the classrooms, you create the first record, and we can call that class 1. Okay, and then in student, you will create as many students that you have. So for example, record 1 will be student 1, and then you can have, for example, just we can say you can have student 2, you have student 3, and so on and so forth, right? So basically this is, if you remember, if you notice that this is the many side object 2, this is the many side. Okay, that's why this is called one to many, and this is basically called one side. Okay, that's why we call one to many. One class can have many students. One stadium can have many spectators. One product can have many sub products. One company can have many employees. All of those are examples. Apple can have many products. Samsung can have many products. One property can have multiple offers. Okay, one car can have multiple buyers. So all of these are example. But in terms of database, when you create a database, remember you create a one record. So basically, this object called classrooms, this is one object. When you create a new record, so you create one record and you call it class 1. So what could be a couple of fields in the class 1, for example, name of the class, right? Then you can have something like location, right? Maybe if there are multiple location, you can have max number of students, right? What else can be characteristics? You can have subjects, right? So all of these can be your fields, and you can have many fields as you want, right? So you will create, all of these are basically become your fields used as, so you create an object called classrooms with all these fields, and then when you create the first record, so this is basically a record, right? So first record will have all this information for the class, and that class could be class 1. Okay, when you talk about students, what could be the fields for the student? This could be the name, date of birth, could be, social security number, and so on and so forth, right? Whatever information you want. So you create multiple records, and again, this is basically nothing but a record 1. This is your record 2, and this is your record 3. So why I'm just showing all that in so much detail is because just to make sure you understand the concept that what exactly doing. Because a lot of time in my previous previous sessions, I able to notice that some of these basic concepts are hard to grab because you are learning it for the very first time, in case if you don't have any database background. And if you don't really understand that, then there's a lot of confusion and going forward, because everything will talk about all of these items. So if you don't understand this, then everything else will will also be very hard to understand. So that's why I kind of spend a little bit extra time today to go through a very detailed session. So again, as we said, you already know how to create an object. So you create an object called classrooms. Within the classroom, all of these fields will be there when you create an object. And when you create the record, first record, then you provide the class one and all of that. But you, with that example that we are taking, is you can have many students in one class. So this is kind of a relationship. So how you can create that? Now we have two options in one-to-many relationship. Is basically master detail and lookup. We discuss about master detail is something like a tightly coupled. This one is more loosely coupled. This is also called parent-child relationship. This is called open relationship. Master detail also have another thing, that it will carry the security settings as a master. So all these records will follow. If we create the master detail, they will follow the thing. And then where is the field will be created. So basically, last time we discussed that we need to connect these two, right? So we connect on the detail side. So many side, we will create the field, and this field is called, so for example, here are the different fields that we are creating. So for example, just take an example, we have these three fields, right? And now we need to connect these two together. And we already discussed that this is your master, this is your master, and this is your detail side. Okay, so where do you create the relationship? How do you, so relationship is nothing but a new field, right? And the field looks like, okay, just select the field name and it will have an option of master detail or lookup. Every time you create a field on the detail side, again, why? Because when you're choosing the student, that's why you need to select what class he's going to, right? But again, just for your remembrance, you can always remember that on the many side, you will create the field. So the one new field will be created. And for example, this time we can say master detail. Okay, for example, if we choose, right? Again, the master detail and lookup will be choose based upon the requirement from the customer. Okay, so this is one scenario. Okay, how you want to create a new field. Does anybody understand what it means, or do you need some more clarity before I start creating the field? Anybody? So is it clear to everybody? No questions?
No.
Rabia, Shamila, Farhan, Sharad,
Yes,
is very
it's
clear?
clear. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
How about if I can take one of you and we can create the relationship? Actually, I can guide you and you guys can create in that way. Everybody will think about it. How, what are we doing and why are we creating? So who wants to become a volunteer?
Me?
Okay, let me unshare my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. And I would appreciate in future classes, again, this is a good opportunity that you can share and do it while we are working. But I would appreciate if everybody can go back and actually try all these things. And trust me, you will start enjoying these things, because this is, you can quickly see the whatever you create right away. You can see how does it look like. If it doesn't come up, you know that something is wrong. You can go back and do that. So I can guarantee it's not boring. It's very engaging, and you will really like it. So go ahead and show me what objects do you have. And can you also open the presentation that I sent so that we can select what are the different objects that you have?
No, I don't have it. So how I can share?
Because we can see your screen already. You can just open up the Salesforce. We can see your screen.
mm-hmm. From
Yeah,
here.
here I send you an attachment also. You can go down. It should be an attachment. I think that's how you. No, no, not this link. Go down. Go down. Should be an attachment. But this is today. It was the last one when I sent the recording.
Yeah. Okay. Mm, I guess it.
Not this one. You can just search my name.
Sorry.
It's double R, another R. M. Oh, go to your inbox. I saw something from there. Yeah, here, try. Oh, no, it's not the web. You're going,
Oh,
go back to inbox. Or I can share the presentation to you. Hold on, I can transfer the file if you want. Right. Okay, I just transfer you through the chat. If you can download from there.
mhm.
Did you see that?
No.
Okay. You see that, right? On your chat window on Zoom. Okay, let me quickly share my screen and actually send you the, not this one. There was a one email prior to that. You can just copy my email address from here and then search it.
Let me do it. I can't able. Okay.
Yeah, Alik, A-L-I-K, A-L-I-K. No. A-L-I-K, A-L-I-K 2,
A.
L-I-K, K 216. Yeah, just search that. But don't search on the web. No. You just click on the web. Don't search on.
Oh,
Just search in your mailbox. Just hit the enter button. Yeah, Ali can just hit the enter button. No. Just hit the enter button. Yep. No. Okay, never mind. Can you go
I
to the
can't.
chat box in the Zoom? Can you see the chat box where we are doing the chatting? I just transferred a file.
Mm, from here.
Okay, let me share my screen. Can you
Okay.
stop sharing? I can just show that and then we can go back to you. Okay. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So here we have 6 different objects, right? So there are 2 more objects in the next page. So one object is called pharma product, another is called hospitals, one is called sample, one is called visit. Okay. Now we want to make some relationship. So for example, this is called samples, okay? And then here is called pharma product. So so pharma product is actually is not a field, okay? Pharma products is actually an object, okay? But when you are going for the sample, for example, sample is something that, let's say if you are a sales rep for a pharmaceutical company and you are taking samples with you, so obviously you need to keep a record for that, right? So this is all basically something that for a model for if you are a sales rep for a pharmaceutical company. So for example, pharma product is, let's say you have a new medication, Tylenol. So here the product name comes up, Tylenol. Product type, for example, this is for headache or whatever types you have. It is for it is for maybe the tablets, or it could be for different type, whatever type, you can define anything, right? And then product specs, so for example some details about the product, 0.5 ml from 0.5 ml of this and that or whatever. Price, so you can say like $5. Inventory, for example, you have 100 samples or 1000 samples, whatever total samples. And then manufacturer, for example, done by Abbott, and or somebody. And business type is, for example, this is for business type could be sales, marketing, or business type could be samples, business type could be whatever business type is. Here you have hospitals, because all of these product will be, for example, we are going to different hospital, and then we are meeting with different doctors and providing them samples so that they can use it. So hospital will have the hospital details, and then samples mean the sample that you are taking. So each sample, so sample code, so each sample should have a code. So for example, if a company created 1000 samples so that they can distribute, they want to follow up each sample and make sure they have the information which hospital we are dropping, and then for example how many visits have been done, and how many samples are go where, and what was the product. So let's say if the company have multiple products, so here, so for example sample code will come as an input, right? Or you can have standard field which is auto number, so automatically sample 1, sample 2, sample 3. So you can have you have an auto number created, something like um, sample dash 000, and then it will automatically, you create a next record, the record number will become 001, 002, 003. So it will, so you don't need to write every time, because you don't know what is the number. For example, if you have 5 different people who are providing the input, then you don't know how many of them are there. So sample mean auto number, meaning you can automatically, every record created, it will have a new number. In that way you have a sequential order, and if you want to check, okay, how many are done, right away if you check the last record, you know how many total samples are there. You can get it from list also, but this will give you a unique number called sample code. Quantity is, for example, when you're giving samples, how many samples are you giving, right? So let's say you pick up 10 samples for today, or you pick up 30 samples for the month or the week, whatever that is. Pharma product, so now here you need to give a name of the product. Okay, so we said, okay, one of the product called Tylenol. Now that Tylenol product has a lot of other things which are over here. So this is one Tylenol and it has all the information. So instead of having all this information, we'll just provide, we can just do a pickup value, which is like a, we just kind of connect these two together. So you can select, for example, if you have Tylenol and you have Mucinex and you have something else, right? And maybe you have some other medication. So from the list of 3 different medications, you can select one of the medications from there. So we want a relationship between these two, okay? And then number of visit, which is another object. So right now we'll just concentrate on this one. So between the pharma product and samples, what do you guys think the relationship would be like? Do you think the lookup make more sense? And again, it all depends. But I mean, right now, let's say you are the product owner, and I am the business analyst. So I'm asking the product owner, that is your company. So I will ask you, okay, what do you think your relationship will be look like if you have, if the sample is there, if you remove the product, do you want all these sample records to be removed, or you want to keep the sample record? Does it make sense or no? So what do you guys think the relationship should be?
I would say master detail.
And why is that?
Yeah, once we remove the product, we don't need details.
Okay, anybody else? Come on guys, quick. I want everybody to be engaged, not looking into your Facebooks and things like that or whatever. Just be engaged. Let quickly do the answer so I know how much you guys are engaged. So very quickly, I need answer from everybody. Okay, you guys want me to call names? Yeah, I mean that's what I really wanted. That's why I always want people to interact, and then they have to be accountable what they're learning. I don't want to just say something and nobody's listening. So I just want to make sure everybody actually grabbing, and I will make sure. So go ahead. I can start calling the names if that is needed.
I think he's right.
Okay. Anybody else?
I don't see why you should remove it, because even if you remove it, you may need it some time. So you need to, even if you remove, you need to keep it somewhere, or maybe future reference or something.
So that's fine. But for example, I know you were not in the previous class, but this is
Mhm.
something that, for example, if you remove it, what do you want with the other item? Do you want the other item to be removed along with that? Or maybe if you remove the master item, do you want the other item to be remain there? Okay. So for example, in this case, if you have a product and the product is not there anymore, for example, you want to remove for some reason, right?
Mhm.
Is there any value for samples to be there? Is there anything that can help you with the record for samples if the product is not there,
If the product is not there, I don't think there's need.
right? So
Yeah.
pharma product, and what is that? And samples. So pharma product and samples, right? So on a page 26, which I already sent it to you guys, we have defined the different thing. So I think you guys are correct. Master detail, and because again, it does make sense that if you don't have a product, you are removing the product for some reason, for example, then you don't need to keep the records, right? Why would you keep the records? It's of no
Mhm.
use. Okay. I can give an example of another two objects, and you can understand that what happens. So for example, if you have a job position, okay, job position is a master, and then if you have for example, you receive 50 different resumes for that job position, and that
Mhm.
job position is no more valid, or that job position was sent to you accidentally and that job position is incorrect, for example, so you need to remove the job position. Now what do you think? Would you remove all the resumes that you have collected, or is it better to remove the resume records also? What do you guys think? Farhan?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry, I kind of.
Okay, so I'm saying that let's say if you have a job position as a one record, and then you receive 50 resumes against that. Okay, and if you remove the job, for example, if the job was sent to you accidentally, it was not a valid job, and you need to remove the job. What do you think is a good practice? That do you want to keep the rest of the resumes, or you also want all the resumes that were collected against that job to be removed?
To be removed.
I think they will keep it
If you keep it, why would you keep it? And if you
for
remove it,
future
why would you
reference,
remove it?
for future positions,
Yep,
similar
simple
positions.
answer. Why would you remove the resumes? You already collected information. A lot of people send it. Maybe you can use the resumes for some other position, right?
Yes,
So
similar
why would you
positions.
remove that? So in that case, what type of relationship you will create? Lookup.
Look up. Hmm.
So the question that I ask you, and whoever answered that question, so I am the business developer, and I'm asking you, you guys, and you guys in our language, you guys are product owners, okay? You guys are customer, and I'm asking you, and I'm a team member of a team who is creating an app in Salesforce, and I will ask you, I will ask the customer that why do you want it, and I will ask you so that you will tell me that what is the utility. So you as a customer or a product owner are telling me that, okay, the if I delete the job position, it still makes sense to keep all the resumes.
Hmm.
So now he don't know what is lookup and master detail. I know that. I will say, okay, perfect. I will make a note that for these two relationship, we need lookup,
Hmm.
right? So again, and if I'm the again same scenario, and now I'm talking about the pharma product and samples, so I will ask my client, which is you, for example, I'll ask you, okay, if your product is not there, if you are removing the product, does it any value for the samples for you? You will say no. If the product, if I'm removing the product, then what will I keep the information for samples? It's no use. And what is these samples for, right? I don't need it. So I will say, okay, in that case it makes sense to create a master detail, because customer doesn't know the technical details, what is master detail, what is lookup, you only know that, but you will ask these right questions. So now I hope you guys understanding where this business analyst position comes from. So the business analyst is a person who knows the detail about the the Salesforce product, and he will ask the questions according to the technical specifications. And once you understand, then you create you create the requirements. Okay. Now let me quickly show you how you create. So let's say we are doing the first one here, which is master detail relationship between the pharma product and this. Okay. So what I can do is I have some other objects. So I have these two objects right now. One is called the offers, and one is called the properties. Okay. And I don't know if I've already created the relationship or not. Okay, I have already created the relationship. So maybe now anybody is ready who can share their screen, and we can create on your screen. Who wants to volunteer? Bharat, are you ready? Rabia, Shamila, who wants to do that?
I really want to do that, but
Oh, that's okay. I know you haven't created all the objects right now, but that's
yeah, that's all.
yeah, yeah. So maybe in the future classes you can definitely do that. For Rabia, you want to do that?
Okay.
All right. Share your screen, then I can guide you. But again, if you do it, it will just next time it will become super easy for you.
Let me open my tab.
Okay. So can you go back to your app, the new app that you created?
Just a minute. Sorry. Um,
Go
which
to
app?
the 9 dots.
Okay.
I think you created the new app, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Start Pharma. Go to Start Pharma. Okay. So now you have all the four objects created. Okay. We just talked about what did we talk about? Two objects: pharma product and samples. Okay. And pharma product and samples. What is the relationship between them? Pharma products and so samples, and so you don't have pharma product. We have hospital invoice sample visits. Okay, you did not create the pharma product, the first one.
Maybe I guess if there was in the assignment.
It was there, but maybe you created.
I can add it here if you want.
That's fine. We can do another one. So there is another object called visit and sample. I think you have both visit and sample, right?
Yeah.
Visit and sample is there. Okay. So visit and sample. So for example, if you visit, okay, in one visit you can give multiple samples, right?
Yeah.
Right. So for example, if you have one sample is called sample 1, you have sample 2, you have sample 3. So in one visit you can do multiple samples. Okay. But can you have one sample and multiple visits? That doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So you know what is one and what is many side, what is parent and what is child between these two objects.
So visit will be parent and sample will be child.
Very good. So visit will be parent and sample will be child. Is everybody clear on that? Why is visit parent and why is sample child? Is everybody clear on that?
Yes.
No, visit based on sample.
Yeah, because in one visit you can give multiple samples. So when we say samples, it doesn't mean the multiple quantity of a sample, but let's say sample 1 is for medication 1, sample 2 is for medication 2, sample 3 is medication 3, right? So when you go to a visit, normally they just give one sample, for example, right? So if you go to one visit to a hospital and you have 3 different type of samples, so in one hospital you can give all 3 samples. Maybe in the next hospital you can only give 2 samples because that doctor normally treat patients with help sample 1 and 2. In another one you can give just one because do that. So what we can have in one visit, we can have multiple samples. So samples will be child and visit will be one. Okay. So now we need to create a relationship, but there could be a visit where maybe you don't need to give any sample, right? That is also possible, right? So not necessarily every time you have to give sample, because maybe you are just visiting and you just tell them about the product and you can tell them, okay, product is not there available. So in this case, the lookup make more sense, because not necessarily every time you need to have it. Also, if you remove the visit, you also need to keep the samples, because whatever samples is not necessarily that if you don't visit, then you need to remove the sample. You want to keep the sample data as well. Okay. So that's why we want to use the lookup. Now, can anybody tell me, if you want to create the master detail, which side of the parent or child will create the field for the relationship?
Sample size.
On the sample side. And what is that called? It is called many side. It is called child side. So if you have one to many, so one is always parent and many is the child. So you need to create the new relationship field on the many side, which is child side, or the side which has multiple options. So now we need to add one more field into the samples. So go ahead, Rabia, and you can go back to the object manager, and we need to select the samples. We need to create a new field. The name of the field is called lookup, and let's see if you can get up to that point. So you need to first of all go to object manager, select the object that we have decided.
And what's that sample?
Samples, exactly. Here, click the samples, the first one, and then go to the second option called fields and relationships, and click the button where it says the new field, new, the first one. And the type of the field, we just decided that we want a lookup relationship. So just find a lookup and select that option. Here you go. Go ahead and click next. And the next option will be, okay, what do you want to select as a master? So we know that the master will be invoice. In the drop down list, you will see one of those. So look for, what was the parent name? Yeah, visits. Perfect. Look for visits. Here you go. Go ahead and do next. And just go ahead and just copy that field name right there. That's it. Everything is fine. And go ahead and just say next. Just keep all the default for now. Another next, just keep the default for now. And we should be good. And just say save, and now save. And now go ahead and go back to your main page where your fields are. Yep, you can click, that's the best way to go. In case if you're here, you can just click the rubric. I call it rubric or 9 dots, whatever. Just go to Star Pharma and start creating new records in the child record. So the child was samples. So go ahead, click samples and start creating a new record. So click new. Okay, give a sample name. For example, you can call it sample 1. And quantity, you can pick up like 100, for example. Now, do you see that at the below you have a visit, right? So right now we did not create any visits, right? So what we can do for now is we can leave it as is. Okay, we do not select anything right now. Again, remember in the lookup, you can leave the lookup value and you are still okay. But in master detail, you have to have the value, otherwise you cannot save the record. So another thing we are taking here, because we did not create any visits, so right now we leave it and we can say save. Okay. Now go back to visit and actually create 2 visits. So we have 2 different options available. So go back to visits and create 2 records, visit 1 and visit 2, and just with some dummy information.
For feedback.
Yeah, something is right, test or something, anything is wrong. Very good. Create 1 more record as visit 2.
So, no. So, new contact?
No. So every time you need to go back to the list. So click visit again, and then you can click the new here. Otherwise, if you click inside, then you actually create a new contact. No, this is called visit to.
Oh,
Exactly. And just choose the rest of the information. Anything is fine. Very good. Now you can go back to and start creating some more samples. So you will see that the first thing you already noticed that if we create lookup, you don't necessarily need to choose the master. Okay, that's one thing. So you can call this sample 2, and you can have 100. That's fine. 50, whatever. Anything is fine. And then here, go down. And click without say test. I think because it just shows you if you have selected something. Oh, sorry, we call it visit one. So start typing visit.
I think need refresh.
Yeah, just yeah. I think this was not refresh. Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point.
so again.
Yep. Again. I actually just scroll just to see that you see both of them, right? Now you can see both of them which you created, so you can choose any visit. Just visit whatever visit you want to choose. Okay, visit 2. Okay, perfect. Create one more record with the visit 2. Okay. Again, you need to go back to samples, click samples, and then create new. So now you're creating the sample 3. So sample 3, again, select the visit 2. Hopefully everybody is getting the idea what we are doing. Yep, visit 2 and save it. Okay, so now we understand that visit 2 should have 2 samples, right? Now go to visits and then click on any visit 2. Yeah, click on visit 2 and then go to the related list, the second tab, the first tab actually. I'm sorry, the first tab on the top, just below the visit, related. You see where the details is right next to that. Here you go. Here you go. Yep. And here you see, now you see their child. So that the parent is visit, that's what we said. And for example, now these two are child. So what are we saying that when we say delete? So right now it's a lookup. So actually let me explain what is this. So go back to the visit. Okay. And what you can do just on a visit one line all the way to the right, you see the drop down, like there is an arrow, just click the arrow. No, the first one. First one. Yep. And select it and delete it.
Okay, select it.
Yep, delete. Okay. Now go back to samples. And do you see all the objects are here? All the records are here, 1, 2, 3. But if it is master detail, then sample 1 and sample 2, oh sorry, sample 2 and sample 3 will be deleted. If it is not master detail, that's what it means. Okay, is everybody's clear on that? So maybe next time what you can do, once you create the other pharma product, you create a master detail, and same thing you can do, you create one master, couple of child, and then just delete one record which has multiple children. Then you can see that if it is master detail, then these records will be deleted. Actually, let me show that right now. Can you go back to on the next tab, hospitals, where you have the object manager? I can maybe try to show you right now. Go to the hospitals, go to the go to the object manager. I think it's one of the tab you already have it open. Or you can go
Oh, maybe where it is.
but that's fine. You can go from here. That's okay. We go to the same object, go to the same field.
And sample?
Yep, samples. I mean, normally we should not do that, but I'm just trying to play around just to show you. Normally you should not do that, but you're just trying it.
Field?
Yep, fields and relationship. And do you see the where is the one that we just created, modified owner? If you go down, sample name, I think sample name is the one. Is the no? This is a text box. Visit, look up, right? Go on the very right hand side and click edit. Yep, edit. Um, click change field type on the top. Go up again. Change field type
Oh yeah, we chose the
and
lookup
select
and
master detail. So now we are just testing. And again, if there are error messages, then that's fine. We can go back and use it with another object. I'm just trying to see if we can just use the same objects just to show the difference. And just save, and just next and save and everything and save. Now go back and again create. Actually, go back and so we already have visit one there, right? So go back directly to samples and create 2 new samples
I think so.
using the visit one. Not visit, but go to samples because you already have the visit one. That's fine. So just go to samples and create 2 new samples, sample 3, sample 4 and 5. And this time you only have visit one. So select that. Sample 4 and quantity, whatever. Okay.
So,
In the visits, you should have only one visit anyways. Yep. Just select the visit too. Yep. Select the visit. Visit.
which one?
Visit.
Visit two?
Yep. Yep. And then save and create one more sample 5. Oh, maybe visit 2 was deleted already. Go back and is it visit 1 also coming up?
Oh yeah, visit one is here.
Yeah, visit 1. I think visit 2 is already deleted, right? Perfect. Create one more. Go back again on samples and create a new record. Sample 5. Okay, now go back to visits and click on visit 1 and go to related fields. Okay, so now everybody see that sample 4 and sample 5 is there. Now go back to sample and hit the list. Here you have 5 samples, sample 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now this time we created master detail. Okay, now go back again to visits and delete delete the visit 1.
Parents.
Yep, delete it.
Delete the parents, the child.
You're deleting the parent with the master detail, right? Last time it was lookup, so nothing happened on the child. Now go to samples and refresh it. Not deleting. Maybe refresh it again.
I think the relationship was not created. It was error out. It was not a master detail.
Oh, the visit is not deleted.
No, the relationship was not created as
Oh, is
master
it okay? Go back to the hospital and see if the relationship was actually changed to master detail or assisted. Is it?
This is hospital.
You need to go to sample. Go to fields. Yep.
So why is this? So So it's still showing lookup.
Yeah, still lookup, right? So see, it was not edited properly. So just try one more time. For detail. Yep. And next. Save. Just click save. Let's see what happens.
Cannot create master.
Oh, because again, records are available, right? So go back to your and just delete the records. Go back to your other window and just delete a couple of all the records. Yeah, visit, just delete this. Yeah, just so you don't have visits anymore. Just go to samples and delete the samples also one by one.
All of them?
Yeah, just delete all of them.
From here? How can we delete all of them in one go?
Try the select all and then this wheel button right next to search list. One before. The first one.
The first button?
This one.
You can delete one by one.
Yeah, for now, just delete one by one. I think there is another way
Yeah.
next time, but for now, just delete it. And also go back to visits and also delete one sample record that you have just to make sure everything is clear. Yeah. Shahbaz, also just delete this one as well. Okay. No, next one.
No.
Right. Here you go. Okay. Now let's go back and do that.
So can I go back from here?
Okay.
No, from Ruber. Ruber. Main page.
Yeah, your object manager. Now you just go back and try to create one more time.
Got it. Okay, it's done. So now, create again sample.
Is it updated now?
Yeah, it's updated. Should I create new sample?
Yeah, just create one visit and two samples and see if you can see them first. First create the visit. Did you make sure the master detail was updated?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
So
yeah, go ahead, create one visit and then two samples.
should I link with someone?
You create the visit one? Is it something you created right now or?
Oh.
Yeah, first create the visit. At least create one.
I did.
What is the name? Yeah, visit one. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, then go back to samples and then select same visit one. Try give them. Yeah, that's fine.
Hmm.
That's fine. That's fine. Visit one. Yeah, that's here you go. That's correct. Okay. Save it and create one more. Sample two. Very good. Is everybody is following? Because the reason for doing this from you guys is to make sure you guys are learning better. We are spending a little bit extra time on our first few items so that everybody can get a good hang of it. Because if you don't follow this, then just select it. Visit one.
Is it one? Okay.
Save it. Perfect. Okay. Now if you go to visits and see if you can see both of them under the visit one, go to related. Okay, two samples, go to the samples, click on samples, and then you have two samples here, right?
Hmm.
Okay, now go back to the visit and delete the visit one. Okay, now go back to samples and refresh it. Here you go. Okay, does it make sense now?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody should be crystal clear, and again, the purpose of doing that is just to physically see. And again, all of these things, because you can right away you make some change and you can see it. It's not something that you need to kind of remember. It will just, if you do it like 2 or 3 times, you will be get a really good idea. So hopefully
So
everybody has good idea. Go ahead if you have any question.
yeah. So visit is a mother and sample is a child. So this is a relationship, right?
Hmm.
In parent-child relationship.
Visit is
Yeah.
parent and sample is child.
Yeah. So visit was parent, samples was child.
Child, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So every time when you create a relationship, and they also called one to many. Okay. So you have between the two object, one object will be one, meaning that one thing can have multiple records in the other side. For example, I gave you a couple of examples. So the parent can be a class, and then the many side can
Yeah.
be students. Uh,
Hmm.
so where do you create that field? Always on a many side, like where you can create many sides. So the child side, many side is there when you create the field, both in lookup and thing. Both of them called one to many. Same thing in lookup. The only difference between lookup and master detail you already understood is a tightly bound and loosely bound, but both of them are one to many.
Okay.
One many, and basically this is one of the very fundamental concept. So once you understand this part, the rest of them actually you can build on top of it.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody has any question for one too many or
Param,
yeah, go
one
ahead.
quick
No.
question. What happen if I try to delete from the sample side? System let me do that,
Oh yeah, yeah.
uh,
Simple side you can delete it, no problem.
even it's a master detail, right?
Yes, because see what happened is, let's say you have one visit and you have three samples, okay, and you delete one sample. That's fine. Now if you go back to visit and if you see the list, it will just show you sample one and two, three will be deleted, no problem.
Okay.
Because the only cascade effect meaning if you delete one to another, the cascade effect only happen if you delete the master record. If you delete the child record, no change, only the record will be deleted, that's it. But the cascade effect, which is if you delete a parent, the child is also deleting. So you did not delete the samples physically, right? It was automatically deleted.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So this is called cascading effect. So the cascading effect only happens if you delete the parent record, not the child. So if you have class 1 and you have 30 students, if you delete 5 of the student, no change. Only thing is, yeah, 5 students will not be there. And if you go back to the parent, now it will show you 25 records rather than 30. That's it. But if you delete the class, then all of the 30 records will also be deleted if they are master detailed.
Okay.
This is example of one to many.
One to many, both of them are one to many. So for example, both lookup and master detail are one to many.
And can you give any example for many to many?
Yes. So let's talk about many to many. Let me share my screen.
Hmm. Let me start with
Yeah, if you can stop sharing. Okay. All right. So many to many. And if you go through my notes, we have some examples also, and we have some details as well. So now hopefully that will clear up everything. So many to many. First of all, understand what is many to many. So if you have two objects, okay, where the relationship is such that it's not one to many but many to many, what does that mean? So for example, if you have invoice one, okay, here invoice one. So invoice one can have invoice for product one, two, and three, correct? Is it possible? Right? You created an invoice one where you have product one, product two, product three. So it will become one to many. Is that right? Everybody clear? Right? Now, if you're selling a product, is it possible that that product is also listed in invoice one, two, and three? Like three different people have different invoices. They also, all of three can purchase product one. Is it possible?
Yeah.
Possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now it becomes a little bit complicated because, for example, if you have a one product, you can have that product in all three invoices. Okay, and if you have one invoice that can have all three product, right? So both of these things are possible. So how would you basically relate them? Because both of them become actually parent, and both of them can become child at the same time, become many to many, right? So like in our first example, we said you have a class one and then you have 30 students, right? And we established that one student can be only in one class, right? That's why we created one to many, okay? But instead of that, for example, if you have not a class, but if you have, for example, different courses, okay? So one course can have many students, and one student can be enrolled in many courses. Is that right? Right, both ways possible, correct? So if I try to draw that, how does it look like? So let me try to draw the, okay. So for example, here I have, um, so let's say I have courses, and the other object I have students, okay? So students can be what? Student name and age, for example, just to make it simple. Courses could be maths and
Bio.
maths and bio. Okay, so these two objects and this, right? Okay, now for example, the student ID will be what? STD number, student ID number, and then here we have, see, course number. Okay, so these three fields are there. So we have a course number, and when we have a student number, and again we can have many students and we can have many courses. Okay, now for example, the student, so let's give some numbers. So student one, test 1, 12, we can have student 2, age, okay, and here we can have course 1 and course 2, and here we can have bio. Okay, so sorry. So this is the name of the course, and this is course number. Okay, these two fields, and these are two objects, right? So I just want to separate them. This is object 1, this is object 2. Now, for example, we talk about student, right? So let's say we want to add a table here for courses, right? So for example, if student 1, let's say he want to take a course 1, you can add that. Now this student also want to take a course 2. How would you add that into the database? Any idea? So for example, student 1 have taken course 1. So you add a course 1 here, right? Now he also want to take a course 2. So the only way you can do that is you can copy this database again, the same record again, and say course 2, right? But that is like a repetition of the same record, which is not kind of a preferred way to do that, right? So you cannot have the same record again and just change the value of the course. That's not the right way. And same thing can happen here is we can have course 1, and for example student 1 is enrolled. Okay, now for example for the same course I have another student, but you know the field is 1, right? This is student field, right? So I want to add another student. How would I add that student? Because you can one value, this field can only have one value, right? Now if I want to add like 5 students, how would I add it? I have to copy that 5 times and then add it, but that's not the right way.
We may need a new table with many to many.
Exactly. So how would you solve this problem? So this is, first of all, you need to understand this situation. We call that this side has many and this side is also many. Okay. So this is called many to many relationship. The other one that we just learned for the lookup and master detail, that was for one to many. There was one item and then you have multiple offsprings, one parent. When we say parent, just think about just a mother. So one mother, multiple kids, right? Uh, uh, and they can be like master detail or lookup, meaning maybe they are their own children, maybe master detail, and maybe they just adopted, maybe lookup, something like that, just to kind of a correlate, right? Here, both the way options are there. So in order to solve this, what we do is basically we create a new object, okay? And we call this object called junction object, okay? And this object is basically will talk to these two. So I don't know if I have the arrows or something I can create with format, spotlight, draw. Let's see if I can draw something. Yeah. So here you go. So I can have now both of these will be actually talking to this junction object. Okay. And then between these two, we create those relationships. So what we can do is we can basically now how do I get back my person? Okay. So now, for example, here we can create um, one to many, right? One relation, one to many, which can be lookup or master detail, right? And same thing we can do over here. Somebody's having a good sleep. Okay, so here we can create one relationship over here, master detail or lookup, and we can create one relationship over here, master detail or lookup. Okay, so this will become, so which object will be the master and which object will be the child between, for example, first we talk about courses and junction object. What do you think, which will be the master and which will be the detail, or one side or many side?
Junction should be a detail.
Junction should be a detail, which means this will become a many side. Okay, and then same thing between these two, this will become many side, right? So all, and then you can create, for example, so this will become many side. You remember from the last lecture that where do you create a new field? On the many side. So this side you can create, for example, lookup. Let's say this is suited for lookup, both of them lookup. So you create a new object, you can call it anything. You can call it junction JNC between courses and students. So you remember that's a junction. So you can have junction underscore courses underscore students. So you remember that this is a junction object. And then you created 2 fields. One field will do, you can do lookup or master detail between courses. So you can call this as a, one field will have master detail, first field, master detail courses. Second field, master or detail, whatever you choose, you can have a student and you can save it. Then you can able to actually able to work with all three objects. In that way, you can create multiple students for one course and multiple. So here you can have, for example, this will become, for example, this will become course one, and here you can select, multiple of them, and then you don't need to repeat all that information in the database. So you can have here student one,
Student.
and then you can have course one again, and then you can have multiple students.
Mhm.
So this one can be like, for example, course one, all of them are with course one, and then you can have multiple students in this table. So not on that table, but in this table, basically. Okay. So this one is your homework this time. Okay. All the processes are defined in the thing. Even it has the steps how you can create that. So here you have steps for custom app. Here you have so this one we already actually performed. Here you have custom tab. So all the processes are there. So you can use that to create the one to many. And in the next class, I can probably go through. So this time, make sure everybody can try that and see how you can create. So all the process are here, how you can create the junction object and do that. And then you can create between anything, whatever you have. In our case, I let me check my example. I forgot if I have many to many or not.
Master lookup.
Here and here. Yeah, so we have lookup. Yeah, so we have many to many here as well, right? So once you create, if you have pharma product and invoice, between these two, you need to create many to many. And for that, you will create one extra object. You can call it anything. You can call it junction underscore pharma underscore invoice. And then you can do master detail with first with pharma product, second with invoice. And then you can try to uh, uh, add records into pharma and also try to add into invoice, and then try the same thing. So one product, so select, for example, pharma product one and add three invoices. Same thing, invoice one and add three pharma products. So first create three records for pharma products, create three records for invoice, and then from the fourth record, then start selecting between them. In that way, you can able to see that how these two can become, and they can, and try to do like a master detail. In that way, you can able to see all of them, and if you delete one, delete other, all that functionality that you actually already experience. Okay, everybody clear? Any questions? Is everybody good with that?
So far.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Any question from chat? Okay.
Khurram, do we have if we have some other data that we want to import? Uh,
You mean another objects or something?
yeah, like we can we do this in Excel and import?
You want to do in Excel and yes, you can. If you get to that point, are you very comfortable doing manually first?
Yeah, I mean, let's just click, right?
Have you create? No. So basically, when you say import via Excel, what do you mean by that? First, explain me what do you mean, what you can import from Excel.
Like if we have number of courses, we can have,
The data, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
can have all that imported, and then we can import all the students in with
Yeah,
their age and
absolutely.
name.
Absolutely, you can do that. It's called data import. But I would, at least for the first few lectures, I would, because again, if you are importing the data, how would you make sure that how they are working and kind of are deleting and doing the practice? So at least for the first few classes, let's try to just do it manually. In that way, you understand the idea how it is. Because what happens is, for example, if you have master detail in something, you want to switch it off and try to kind of delete it, because you need to have one or the other object first and second. So it will be, it may mix up in your understanding, but in future classes, once we learn about the import features, then probably it's a good idea to actually start importing the thing. Because right now we are not talking about creating 100 records, right? We can only create a couple of 3 or 4 or 5 records, and you should be good with that.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, in future, when once we go through something called data loader. So data loader is something where you can map the fields from the Excel sheet, and then based on whatever records do you have, like fields that you have in a different object, you can map them, and then you can import like in one click. So that is available. So maybe once we get to that point, we can learn about it. how you do that. But for now, I think it's a good idea to do it manually. Just create few records and you should be good with that. Okay. Anything else which is not clear?
So basically, we in this exercise we're creating 3 tables: uh, invoice and product, and third the junction thing, and entering some data. See.